When you think of DBZ characters, they're not really smart. You think of Goku and you automatically think, especially with Super, this guy's not smart at all. Hopefully today I can clear up that misconception a little bit, but starting at the very beginning, the character with the lowest IQ, it is by far Majin Buu. Majin Buu shows a real lack of awareness wherever he goes. Some of the things about Majin Buu though, he can be as smart as he wants or he can be as dumb as he wants. In this case, Fat Buu is as dumb as bricks. However, moving on to the next one, he's only very shortly behind Goten. Goten is not smart. In fact, there's this thing where in the movie Super Android 13, Goku gets hit hard. Really hard. A few years later, Goten is born, and you put the pieces together, and maybe that's why. Goten is still very young though, but at the moment, and what we've seen of him growing up, his intelligence is very low. Moving on to the next one, and I hate to put him here, but it's Broly. Broly was raised on a planet with nothing. It was vampire. It was dust and bugs. The only thing he really learned how to do was to survive and thrive for himself. With no other humans around, he became friends with a beast, and as a result, I guess you could say that's who he ended up being. Up until very recently, Broly had never even fought anyone before, so you can't even say that he's some great martial artist when he's never even fought before. Broly does have potential though, but to be perceived as one of the smartest characters in this revolutionary franchise, Broly right now comes in as number 21. Moving on to the next one, we have Krillin, and this is base level intelligence. This is where most humans, regular people, would be. If you look at Krillin now, he is straight back into society as a policeman. He isn't overachieving massively like Goku, but now he's just plain average. He's got an average job. He is now what I consider to be, for Dragon Ball standards, base level of intelligence. Moving on to the next one, I chose Hercule. That might be a weird choice putting him above Krillin because Krillin knows how to fly and do all these key attacks, but he has the entire world filled that he beats Cell and Majin Buu and is the strongest thing to have ever existed in the universe. Everyone in the world believes him. You could say everyone in the world is really dumb, or Hercule's a pretty smart guy. Moving on to the next one, I had to choose Master Roshi. If you ever watched Dragon Ball, Master Roshi knew everything about the ancient world. He was back then one of the wisest characters in the show. He knew everything. And even though in today's standards it doesn't mean much, I still think based on Earth knowledge, especially since now he is coming up on 400 years old, Roshi just is one of the smartest Earthlings to have ever lived. Number 17, Goku. Goku's not dumb. There are some times where dumb things would creep in, but overall, he's definitely not dumb. Anyone who can master Ultra Instinct in 48 minutes, you can't call them dumb. However, the reason he is perceived to be dumb, you've got to play to people's strengths. Goku, you couldn't put him in a lab and tell him to build a rocket ship. He wouldn't be able to do that. However, put him against the strongest people in the multiverse, he wins. Play to their strengths. Goku's strength is martial arts, and in terms of martial arts, he is very smart, very dedicated, and no one is going to take him down. Now, earthly things like, I don't know, 5 plus 7, he might not know. But who cares? Who cares? He wins. Goku's a funny character when it comes to intelligence because there are some times he talks so much sense, like in those later episodes of DBZ and the Buu Saga, but Dragon Ball Super really went back to when Goku was 12 and he didn't really know anything. Obviously the reason he's this high up in an IQ list is because of fighting. Unlike Broly, Goku has mastered martial arts. He is so good at it that he can now do it without thinking. His fighting intelligence is number 1, and that's why he isn't last, but he's not number 1 either. Okay, so moving on to the next one, there's nowhere near as much to say about Vegeta. I think it's all pretty much agreed upon that Vegeta is not dumb. We're getting to the stage now where anyone who appears from here on out is a smart character. Vegeta is actually getting very smart. He's taking in all these gods around him. You feel like he's absorbing all this information and he's taking it in really well. In the future, the way it's going, Vegeta's IQ could go through the roof, but right now he ranks as number 16. Frieza, when it comes to intelligence, he could be so much smarter, and I'm actually a little bit disappointed in him if I'm being honest, because he leads his own empire. I guess that's kind of smart, but he knew that he was a prodigy, and all he needed to do was train for 4 months to become insanely powerful, and he didn't do it. In my opinion, that's very dumb. But generally, Frieza is very well composed. He's shooting for the title of Omni King. Right now, Frieza has the intelligence of someone who's been dead for 50 years. I think he'll get back up there as time goes by. On the multiversal level, Frieza right now, in IQ terms, is very low. Moving on to the next one, it is future Trunks. Having the genes of Vegeta and especially Bulma made Trunks a very interesting character. Trunks' intelligence comes from his common sense. Because of the world that he grew up in being burnt to the ground, destroyed by androids, he has a very realistic view on the world. So when he first met Frieza, he didn't mess around, he cuts him in half and that's it. When he saw Vegeta wasn't finishing off Cell, he tried to push Vegeta out of the way and finish Cell himself. The only thing that doesn't put Trunks over the edge is actually his fighting intelligence. Most of the time, he relies on raising his power as high as he can. He doesn't really worry about technique or any of that stuff. He either powers up into a form that's just too much power for him, or he just gets really mad like he did against Goku Black. So that's roundabout where he is. Moving on to a higher level of intelligence, there is Android 17, winning the Tournament of Power with that power level, plus 200 IQ, easy. One of the smartest characters generally Dragon Ball Z has ever portrayed has been Piccolo. By far he is the strongest Namekian, and when you think about it, Piccolo has learned everything by himself. He was born into evil, pure hatred, but as he gets older and meets characters like Gohan, it has a real effect on him and his lifestyle, and when he fuses with Kami, that is when he is at his best, and Piccolo will always be one of Dragon Ball Z's smartest characters. Moving on to the first real villain who I think is insanely smart. I think this guy's on a whole other level. He takes it from Piccolo up to a whole new tier list. Cell is the best parts of everybody mixed, from talking Vegeta out of killing him and letting him get more powerful. He was so good at understanding the nature of fighting. He straight up told Trunks that form, it's more powerful than me, but you're not gonna beat me. Cell was on a whole other level of IQ, and speaking of Cell, this is where Gohan really shines. Gohan quit fighting because he enjoyed reading and getting smart. That was his thing. Gohan is getting to the level where he could help Bulma create a spaceship to go into space. Moving on to number 9, I chose Dr. Gero. In a certain timeline, Dr. Gero was able to destroy the world. Dr. Gero was so smart that he created humans stronger than Frieza and stronger than Super Saiyans on Earth. That is unheard of. Then he turned himself into that so he could be that strong too. Moving on to the next one, it's Super Buu. This man is just like Cell, but with Gohan absorbed. And with all those Supreme Kais that he absorbed, the knowledge of this man is getting up there with gods. The only thing stopping Super Buu from becoming omnipotently intelligent is actually the next person on this list. Vegito. Vegito takes all the good from Goku and all the good from Vegeta and combines it into one. When those two work together, it's like both of their negatives cancel each other out and they become only positive. Vegeto's plan to get absorbed by Majin Buu and have that barrier around him so he doesn't actually get absorbed while stripping Majin Buu of everyone that he's absorbed was genius, very high level thinking. It's that fine line between is street smarts just as important as book smarts? Because if it is, Vegito is right up there and that's where I'm ranking him. Number 7. Number 6 is Bulma. She is so smart that she invented time travel. Time travel. The gods forbid time travel. Bulma defied the gods before anyone else. By building a time machine, the gods have this strict law around no one's allowed to time travel, and fair enough, not many people are going to know how to time travel, it's not an easy thing to do, but Bulma figured it out. In only around 20 years of her life, Bulma figured out how to manipulate time. And it's not just that. She's built capsules, dragon radars, she replicated the Saiyan suits. She is so good at making these things, it's traditional intelligence, and that's why she is number 6. Moving on to the next one, I chose the Omni King. That's right, I think Zeno is smarter than Bulma, purely because of where he stands. Zeno doesn't just know things about the universe, he can see what goes on around every corner of the multiverse. Having access to all of that stuff, to be able to see everything, anyone at any time, automatically makes him very intelligent compared to anyone else. The only thing holding the Omni King back from being number 1 is that he's a kid, and for the most part it looks like the Grand Priest actually manipulates a lot of his decisions. Moving on to the next one, Beerus. At this point it's not even fair, everyone else is a baby compared to these characters. Realistically, Beerus is over 200 million years old. To be alive for 200 million years, you would get such wisdom and knowledge that automatically it bumps you up. Also, he's the god of destruction, he decides who lives and who dies, he is one of the most composed gods of destruction, and just generally Beerus is a very intelligent character. Smarter than Beerus though, is his master Whis. Whis is in that category of angel. All he has to do for knowledge is look into his staff, and whatever he wants, he can see it. For example, when Universe 9 was destroyed, he just looked into his staff and he saw it gone. That staff that Whis has makes him almost the smartest character in all of Dragon Ball. Coming in at number 2, I feel like I need to mention this guy because I'm not sure if many people remember this guy, but he was there for only a very short amount of time, but his entire character is, he knows everything. He owns his own temple in Universe 7 and his entire character is based around he knows everything in the universe. Zuno can tell you in detail anything that happened in the universe to date. That's all he is, a limitless pit of knowledge. Based on IQ only, Zuno is number 1. However, you cannot ignore the Grand Priest. The Grand Priest is Whis, but better. He is like what Whis is to Beerus, but the Omni King. I don't think anyone would disagree with saying that the Grand Priest knows more about the multiverse and has more knowledge over most things than anyone else in the series. So that is all levels of IQ in DBZ. I want to thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next Dragon Ball video.